Alright, hello everyone. Today I'm giving you guys a video about artifacts thanks to the power of democracy. In this video, I'll be sure to simplify as much as I can to help you better understand about artifacts. Before we dive in, you need to understand three basic things about the game. You need to understand which stats do what, you need to understand which characters you're using that artifact for, and you need to know which set you're using. And that may sound a lot, but trust me, it isn't. It really isn't. It's really nothing complicated. So starting with basic stats, HP, attack, and defense. I'm sure you know what they do from the name. If you can't, I would recommend you to learn some common sense. Yeah, go do that. Characters in this game may need one of these stats to maximize their abilities. Like Barbara, for example, heals based on her maximum HP. Only people who are bored with their lives builds this monstrosity. Noelle, hitting hard and staying hard thanks to defense. And lastly, how any DPS just uses attack because people with common sense will recognize that being thick and dense doesn't help you with damage unless their abilities are based on HP and defense. Shut the f up. I know one of you are about to comment one of these names in the comment section below to prove me wrong because you're so smart. But those are the three basic stats. Alright, story time. Yeah, that's right, I added story time here so I can roast the shit out of the resin system. Anyways, once upon a time there was this green fluff ball. He loved, well, he hated farming domains, but he did it anyways. So after he spent all his resin, he got all his artifacts and they were all shit. He got shafted really hard, like every other day, since RNG exists. So anyways, he went downstairs, go eat a burger, take a shit, and brushed his teeth. And he came back and only one resin regenerated. He needs 20 resin to do one domain run, and he only gets 1 or 2 5-star artifacts, and most likely they are not the artifact that he's looking for. So he needs to go downstairs, eat a burger, take a shit, and brush his teeth 20 times to get that one chance of getting that good artifact. But unfortunately, the chances of him getting that one good artifact is super fucking low. That's the end of the story. Now to the other stats people have a hard time understanding because this game sucks the fattest. Because this game sucks at explaining. Energy recharge, ultimate mastery, crit rate, and crit damage. Energy recharge is pretty easy. Another common sense. Helps you recharge your energy for your burst. This is an important stat for characters with large energy cost or specific places in the abyss that sucks on your energy like mosquitoes in summer. This is the one people have a hard time figuring things out. Ultimate Mastery affects your reaction. I'm sure most of you know that part since it's listed right beside the stat when you look at it. Now here's the catch though. There's 3 different types of reactions. Number 1, amplifying reactions, melt and vaporize. These multiply your damage and can crit. Number 2, transformative reactions, electrocharge, overload, superconduct, shatter, and swirl. These reactions are based on your character's level and cannot crit. Number 3, crystallization, useless. Ultimate Mastery is a pretty important stat, especially when you're trying to deal as much damage as possible with your reactions. Now for crit rate and crit damage, one of the most important stats in any DPS builds. Crit rate is basically the chance of you critting. Critting basically means multiplying the amount of your base damage by your specific crit damage percentage. So when your crit is high, you deal more damage the majority of the time. When you have high crit damage, you deal big damage. And if both of these are high, which is kind of everyone's dream, you deal big damage the majority of the time. So a good example would be this. You do want to keep your crit rate and crit damage to 1:2 ratio, but of course more for each is definitely more ideal. Now that we understand these stats, let's go over the artifacts. So the basic things about the artifacts is that they have 2 separate ways of giving you stats, the primary stat and the secondary stats, or substats for short. Now this is just a tip from me, but the primary stat is always more important than the substats. Substats are also important, but just because you have an amazing substat, if your primary stat is incorrect, it can definitely ruin your build, because the primary stat will always have a higher stat than your substats no matter what. So even if the substats are absolutely trash, make sure to keep them only if you have no other replacements. Back to the primary stats though, the option for primary stats of your artifacts will differ depending on the type. For example, the only artifact type that can have elemental damage bonus for primary stats are goblets, which is a pretty essential stat for any DPS builds. However, the flower is always fixed to be flat HP, and the feather is always fixed to be flat attack, which is why it's easier to farm flowers and feathers, since all you need to worry about is the substats. The hourglass, goblet, and the circlet will have different options for your primary stats, which will definitely make you go through a lot of pain since you have to worry about the random chance of you getting the right primary stats and the substats. Anyways, like I said before, primary stats options will vary depending on the type of artifact, so let's go ahead and list them. The hourglass is probably the easier one out of the 3 since there's only 5 options: HP, attack, defense, energy recharge, and elemental mastery. The goblet is probably going to be the biggest pain in your ass since there's 11 options: HP, attack, defense, elemental mastery, physical damage bonus, and elemental damage bonuses. And the elemental damage bonuses of course refers to the 6 different element types DPS. The Circlet is going to be your pain in the ass number 2, HP, attack, defense, elemental mastery, crit rate, and crit damage, and healing bonus. Still hectic enough. As you can tell, there are some common types like HP, attack, defense, and elemental mastery, so for your Goblet and Hourglass, try to get something exclusive for that artifact type like damage bonus and crit when you're trying to build a DPS. For support though, you'll most likely go with something based on your character's abilities. Like I said, try to read, it helps. So I'll sum up what I said here as a chart, so you can pause here or come back later if you want to, but moving on to substats, there are obviously several options and your substat choice will vary depending on your primary stat choice. But there are some essential ones and some really shitty ones. Essential ones include crit rate, crit damage, one of the 3 common stats as a percentage stat. The shitty ones include any of the 3 common stats as a flat number. These are truly the worst. I also want to mention it's impossible to get a damage bonus for your substats, so that just makes the Goblet much more valuable. So that was the basics. Now let's talk about the leveling process about the artifacts. Now in this video, I'm only going to talk about the 5-star artifacts because they're just better. Also, if you're only getting 4 stars right now, I wouldn't recommend farming artifacts. Anyways, there's also a kick into these artifacts when it comes to substats. There's the ones that comes with 4, or there's the ones that comes with 3. So before we dive deeper, I'm going to explain about the leveling process real quick. When you're leveling your artifacts, level 4, 8, 12, 16, and 20, one of your substats will increase in stats. The goal here is to max level your artifacts so that the substat you want to increase will reach its maximum potential. For example, if I'm trying to level Elemental Mastery substat artifact, I want it to increase every time it hits the level up milestone. But the catch is that those chances are random, which pisses people off very often, because the majority of the time, it goes into the wrong fucking substat and makes us lose our shit, since it's probably going to take us a long ass time to get those perfect substats. So this game requires a lot of grinding and patience, although it's okay to vent. Even now, in this video, I'm doing it right now, still complaining. But eventually, having low expectations just makes this game better. Anyways, back to the 4 stats and 3 stats thing. The reason why the 4 stat at level 0 is better than the 3 stats at level 0 is because when they both hit level 4, the 3 stat will use the milestone to gain a new stat, while the 4 stat will use the milestone to increase a stat, giving you more chances to enhance your stats even further. But it's still okay to have a 3 stat one. I still use it too, but if you were lucky enough to get that perfect 4 stat artifact, then my goodness, I hope the RNG doesn't shaft you with the wrong substats. Alright, last bit of note. Number 1, Elemental Mastery can also be important for your substats if you're using reaction teams, and also note that the transformative reactions can't crit, so make sure to stack up on attack percentage or energy recharge for your substats if you're building that. Number 2, 5-star artifacts will always be better than the 4 stars because of the big gap between the primary stats and the substats. And number 3, piece stats are indeed important, especially some of the 4-piece ones, but I would say focusing on your primary stats and your substats is more important beforehand. Number 4, there's no way to guarantee yourself to get an amazing artifact just on a whim. It's all luck. Don't do anything dumb that you find online. But anyways, that was my nifty little guide on artifacts. I know it was probably a bit longer than you thought, but I really did try to simplify it as much as I could. But you might have a question in your head saying, wait, so this artifact farming is just random? For the amount of resin we spend for each domain run? That doesn't seem fair at all. I know, right? What the shit? Like, by the time this video is over, 1 resin has been regenerated in your account. What the f? That's dumb. That's so stupid. Fix your stupid resin system. It's so shit. Everyone hates it. Increasing the condensed resin cap, increasing the resin cap alone doesn't fix the problem. I can't wait 8 minutes for 1 resin. I need to spend 40 or 20 resin every domain or boss runs, and it's stupid. Fix that dumbass stupid. Anyways, hopefully you guys did enjoy the guide. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.